A decision that nobody expected is about to shake the foundations of Lincoln Financial Field. Behind the scenes in Philadelphia, serious conversations are happening, and the future of two fundamental pillars of the Eagles' offensive line hangs by a thread. We're not talking about contract negotiations nor transfers to other teams. We're talking about something much more definitive, something that could completely change the configuration of the team that recently won the Super Bowl and helped Saquon Barkley achieve a historic 2,000-yard rushing mark. What's at stake could redefine the entire franchise strategy for the coming seasons, and the bomb could explode at any moment. Stay with me until the end, because this story has twists you need to know about. Before we dive into what's really happening, we need to understand the current Eagles scenario. The team comes from a season that, despite having brilliant moments like Saquon Barkley's spectacular campaign, ended, frustratingly with a wild card round elimination to the 49ers. But what many fans didn't realize at the time is that this loss may have been just the beginning of a series of deep changes in the organization. Earlier this week, the franchise had already suffered a significant blow when Jeff Stoutland, the veteran offensive line coach and run game coordinator, announced his departure from the position. Stoutland was a highly respected figure, responsible for developing and maintaining one of the most dominant offensive lines in the NFL in recent years. His departure was already reason enough for concern among the Eagles nation, but what came after this news has the potential to be even more impactful. According to information revealed by Jeff McLane of the Philadelphia Inquirer on his Uncovering the Birds podcast, and confirmed by Mike Garafolo of NFL Network, two fundamental players from the offensive line are seriously considering retirement: right tackle Lane Johnson and left guard Landon Dickerson. Yes, you heard that correctly. Two of the 5 starters on the line that protected Jalen Hurts and opened paths for Barkley to make history may be hanging up their cleats very soon. Let's start with Lane Johnson, a true Eagles legend. At 35 years old, Johnson is in the final phase of an absolutely brilliant career. Selected as the 4th overall pick in the 2013 draft, coming from the University of Oklahoma, Johnson became one of the most consistent and dominant tackles in the league over more than a decade. His numbers speak for themselves: 6 Pro Bowl appearances, 5 All-Pro selections, 3 for the second team and 2 for the first team, and 2 Super Bowl rings. In 168 games for the franchise, Johnson started in all of them, demonstrating not only talent but also impressive durability over the years. But the 2025 season was particularly challenging for the veteran tackle. A Lisfranc injury, which affects the bones and ligaments in the middle of the foot, took Johnson out of the final 7 games of the regular season and also the playoff loss to the 49ers. For an athlete who had always been synonymous with availability and consistency, being out in crucial moments was certainly frustrating. And now, this injury seems to be making Johnson rethink his future in the sport. What makes this situation even more intriguing is that Johnson signed a contract extension less than a year ago, a deal that runs through the 2027 season. At the time, the player himself expressed confidence that he would fulfill the entire contract. Jeff McLane still expects that to happen, but admits that Johnson is seriously contemplating his options after an injury-limited season. Even so, when healthy and on the field, Johnson still demonstrates that he can play at a high level. Pro Football Focus ranked him as the 19th best tackle among 86 qualified players in 2025, proving that his technical ability remains intact. If Johnson's possible retirement at 35 would already be a shock, Landon Dickerson's case is even more surprising. At only 27 years old, Dickerson should be entering the prime of his career, not considering the end of it. Drafted in the 2nd round in 2021, Dickerson quickly established himself as one of the best guards in the league, participating in 3 Pro Bowls in just 5 seasons. In 78 possible games since arriving in the NFL, Dickerson started in 77 of them. Like Johnson, Dickerson also signed a recent contract extension in 2024 that should keep him on the team through 2028. However, the young guard's medical history tells a worrying story. Since his college days at Florida State and later at Alabama, Dickerson has already undergone an impressive 13 surgeries. That's right, 13 surgical procedures before even turning 30 years old. His body has already endured much more than most players face in entire careers. Last offseason, Dickerson underwent another surgery, this time on his right meniscus in August. Although he managed to recover in time for week 1 of the season, demonstrating his incredible resilience, an ankle injury later sidelined him for 2 games. When he was on the field, Dickerson continued to show why he's considered one of the best at his position. Pro Football Focus ranked him as the 28th best guard among 80 qualifiers this past season. But the question remains, at what cost to his body and long-term well-being? Both Johnson and Dickerson were fundamental pieces of the offensive line that won the Eagles' most recent Super Bowl in 2024. They also played crucial roles in Saquon Barkley's historic campaign in 2025, when the running back reached the 2,000-yard rushing mark, becoming only the 9th player in NFL history to achieve this feat. The dominance of this offensive line was one of the main factors for the Eagles' offensive success, and losing 2/5 of this unit would be devastating. General Manager Howie Roseman now faces a complicated dilemma. With free agency starting in just over a month and the draft happening in April, Roseman urgently needs answers about Johnson and Dickerson's future. The situation is even more complex because 2 reserve offensive line players, Fred Johnson and Brett Toth, will also be available on the free agent market. Fred Johnson, who made 8 starts in 2025 due to Lane Johnson's injury, made it clear last month that he would like to re-sign with the Eagles, but also considers himself a player with the caliber to be a starter. At 28 years old, if Fred Johnson sees a clearer opportunity for playing time on another team, he may very well leave Philadelphia. Losing Fred Johnson at the same time Lane Johnson retires would be a double blow. Brett Toth may be easier to retain. With only 6 starts in 5 years of his career, he had a peak of 4 starts this past season, playing 199 snaps at left guard and 164 at center. Keeping Toth would give the Eagles at least more depth in the interior of the line, especially if Dickerson really decides to retire. Even if Johnson and Dickerson decide to continue playing, it wouldn't be surprising to see Roseman focusing on reinforcing the offensive line in the next draft. It's important to note that Roseman hasn't selected an offensive lineman in the 3rd round or earlier since he chose right guard Tyler Steen in the 3rd round with the 65th overall pick in 2023. Steen just completed his first season as a full-time starter and is part of the guaranteed core for 2026, along with left tackle Jordan Mailata and center Cam Jurgens. But now there are serious questions about the other 2 positions. The Eagles' situation is delicate and represents a decisive moment for the franchise. The next few weeks will be crucial to define not only the 2026 season, but potentially the next few years of the team. Stoutland's departure combined with possible retirements of Johnson and Dickerson would create a vacuum of leadership and talent that would take time to fill. Now I want to know your opinion. Considering that Landon Dickerson is only 27 years old and has a contract guaranteeing millions of dollars for the next few years, but has already undergone 13 surgeries, do you think he should prioritize his health and long-term quality of life and retire now? Or should he continue playing while he's still at a high level and maximize his financial earnings? Leave your answer in the comments because this is a discussion that every NFL fan needs to follow. And if you want to continue receiving the hottest news and in-depth analysis about the Philadelphia Eagles before anywhere else, leave your like on this video and subscribe to the channel by activating the notification bell. In a moment of so many uncertainties and potential changes in the franchise, you can't miss any update. Every piece of information could completely change the course of the Eagles' offseason, and I'll be here bringing everything to you firsthand.